just like we did today's show, isn't it? Sound effects to start.
Hey, cheers for that.
Yeah, welcome to the DQ NBA podcast. My name's Sean, and joining me is Mark O'Forden.
Nice one.
Yeah, just got off a plane, right? Flew in from sunny Brisbane.
Flew from the Sunshine State into the Garden State. Victoria on the move.
Actually, the Education State.
The place to be.
Yeah, it's actually like driving back home in an Uber. It was a cab, don't know why I lied. Just you drive past Gladstone Park Shopping Centre, and it's like, man, we need cooler stuff when you first drive in, because getting off.
Which one's Gladstone Park Shopping Centre? Is that the one in Essendon?
Near Essendon, close to the airport. Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah, it's like it's a shock it hasn't been like pulled down. Like, you know, they're trying to shut down Preston Market, but Gladstone Park's just standing so gallantly.
Yeah. Not prime apartment real estate.
yeah, that's true. But soon it'll be the next Glenroy.
That's what I'm
That's
hearing.
how it works,
That's what
man.
I'm hearing.
We're all just moving our way up to Geelong, aren't we?
We're gonna be living in the old age printing press by the end of 2030.
The cigars.
Yeah, the cigar.
As a budding journalist, I would drive past there as a kid, going, "Oh God, one day I hope to work at the rolled up newspaper, and I can just duck up to Tullamarine, take a photo of a footy player, and duck back to the office." But no longer.
Do you know the story about it? It's probably not a good podcast photo, actually.
I only know that it used to be The Age, and it was a rolled up newspaper.
But they spent millions and millions of dollars building it as their like flagship printing press.
Yeah.
And The Age was a broadsheet newspaper, a fine institution in this country. Yeah. And then about 2 years later, editorial decided to change it to it's the one between tabloid and broadsheet. I can't remember what it's called. There's a word for it. It's like a Berliner or something like that. And it just made the entire printing press redundant, and they had to sell it. So, and then
but I feel like it was also like pre-internet. Like it wasn't, but I feel like it was. Like,
it was when they were printing a lot of papers, and they're not printing so much anymore.
Yeah, you don't get Simpsons pins with them anymore.
No,
it's like, well, there you go, man.
Well, maybe you do, but I wouldn't know.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. But yeah, I was up in Brisbane for a work event. Brisbane's it's so humid, and like I was like,
it's the humidity, not the heat there.
Yeah. Fuck, I hate that conversation, but it's right. I've had it like 6 times this week. God, it's only 26, but it'll fucking get you, won't it? I'm a good boy. I wake up, put my moisturiser on, because like the hotel moisturiser is right there, it's looking at you. Put it on, get the bus to get to University of Queensland. By the beautiful institution. Have you seen it? Been there?
No, I haven't.
All like old sandstone buildings. It looks like some kind of Minecraft just like translated it to IRLs. Really, really good. It looks a bit like Hogwarts, and on the inside as well. I don't know if you meant like Trinity College in Dublin. It's like massive square in the middle. Like, God. Yeah, and it's like,
God's
oh my
country.
God, Queensland. But it was there, humid. I actually don't want to finish that story. It's just going to be a humid joke. But as I was walking around talking to people in the education AVIT industry, speaking to people, talk, and I was like, met this guy talking about work, and I'm sort of like waiting for his colleague to be free because I needed to speak to him. And I was a bit like, oh, mate, I'll just come back in 5 minutes, right? Like one of those ones. And then like, oh, nah, still talking. Oh, nah, still not 5 minutes. Oh, talk. And then it's a bit like, oh, fuck, what else are you going to do, man? And then I said, oh, do you like basketball, right? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, oh. And he goes, but I'm a Golden State fan. I'm like, why are you sad, man? Like, you don't need to apologise or anything. Would you believe I am also a Golden State fan? He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, it was just so joyful,
Yeah,
and then,
right.
I was like, oh, this season, but, fuck, he's like, yeah, started off so good. And he's like, but, I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you reckon is the problem? And he's like, God. And then he goes to say something, and I go to say Klay Thompson, right? And I'm just like, Klay, and he's just like, Steve. I'm like, what?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's like, Steve, something needs to happen. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's
like
a wild take.
The dudes just need to make shots. He's like, nah, mate, I feel like his heart's not in it. There was the whole Kenny Atkinson thing in the off season, and then him and like Jurgen Klopp were both like, you can only be a coach for 7 years and then you have to move on. He's done his 7. I'm like, what? And he goes, Andrew Wiggins, man, he's a dude that we know he can do it. He just needs to be like motivated to do it. We need Steve Kerr. He's a sit down coach. We need Steve Kerr to come in there and just like sort of whip him into action, right? It's like, fuck. I've never looked at it from that angle, because how could Steve Kerr make a wrong step?
Yeah, but you know, I've never thought about that either. But it's also just your roster is old and bad. Like I think it's so much simpler than that.
Yeah.
Like there's always that value of like, oh yeah, fire the coach, get like some new energy there, get a new bounce. But like, what is what is any coach gonna do with a 32-year-old Klay Thompson who hasn't been good for 2 years? He's been good in the last 2 games. And yeah, like Draymond Green, who is never going to be the player he's going to be. And then like, your depth that is just completely non-existent.
Yeah. It's like you're either old or bad at basketball.
Yeah, and it's like, you've been pursuing a championship for 8 years and you've been pretty successful at it. Probably about time your roster's a bit thin, right?
It's fine. It's like, okay, maybe Steve's not the guy to bring us into our next era, but fuck, that's a conversation for like 3-4 years from now.
Yeah.
I just got an email that said that my waiver claim has gone through. You dropped Keontae George 3 days ago.
Yeah, man.
I picked him up because what's wrong with you?
Well, he was just killing my field goal percentage. Let's just say that.
Oh, really? Wow, okay.
Actually, me and Jackson had an infamous fantasy battle.
Oh, God.
While I was away at Strawberry Fields this weekend.
I was watching it at work. I was watching your stats go up and down while you were away, because you were like, oh man, I want to win that matchup. I was watching D'Angelo Russell field goals.
Yeah. And then on Monday we ended up leaving the festival quite early. Woke up at 7, was on the road by 9. And so I'm at Shepparton McDonald's at 10:30 a.m. I'm like, oh fuck, I can play around my roster a bit here. And I'm looking, I'm like,
usually people say McChicken.
Well, not me, Sean. Not me. That wasn't the deal of the day, but we've covered that ground. And I'm like, okay, look, I'd like a bit of a buffer and assists. Field goal percentage, feeling pretty good about. I'm like, pick up Keontae George. He's averaging 7.8 assists over the last 8 games or whatever. Perfect, just what I need. He shot like 2 of 14 or something like that. And then I ended up beating Jackson by exactly 1 made field goal. I was like on 501% and he was on 500 or something like that.
It was so crazy, because at the time I made it work. Was in a close game where it was like 1 steal off.
Yeah.
And he got that final steal on like the overtime game. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, bro, I've never seen a game this close. I'm like, well, actually, I know you feel great right now, but if you click on this other matchup, it's 1 shot. It's not like 26 steals. It's 172 field goals and stuff. But yeah, back to me. So I'm on the plane home, Queensland, and there's Wi-Fi on Qantas planes now.
Yeah.
So good, man. I don't know what the fuck took them so long.
You don't have to pay or anything.
No.
Yeah.
It's
you
shit.
Just get 4G up there sometimes.
Well, like my former housemate is a pilot, and he's like, nah, it's bullshit, mate.
It is. Absolutely
It's just on the odd chance you're a hacker or you're a terrorist. Yeah, it'd be pretty awful if they've got access to the internet.
I got my first Australian text after 2 months in Europe about 4 hours before I landed, flying in over New South Wales. Yeah, of course.
I've never. I don't have the. I don't
you're
have
too scared, mate. Don't have the cojones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now they got Wi-Fi. That's fair. It's like when they make Meredith goat's cheese free at Coles. It's like, I never stole it. So I'm coming back, and the Wi-Fi is like kind of bad. So it's like I'm watching, because I was on the way up, did heaps of reading, felt great, and on the way back I'm like, watch this Warriors game, see how we go. Like Warriors Suns, that was on today. Chris Paul ejected by Scott Foster, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I was like, look, we're down by 20 points. And I just remembered a quote from like Ted Lasso where it was the hope that gets you. And I was like, but 3 technical fouls right at the end of the half. Maybe that'll fire up the fellas. Still thinking back to that previous conversation about maybe we need to fire up. Anyway, I don't know if you watched it.
No.
Yeah,
I box score worried.
So that's what they changed. That's what the WNBA team's called, the box score Warriors. But we just threw in like Dario Saric, Pods, Corey Joseph, Moody Moses and Kuminga / Guy Santos
at the half. So like
yeah.
waving the white flag.
Yeah,
at half time.
I think Steph might have played a bit, but Steph like finished the game in like 25 minutes. Didn't check back in after he checked out in the third quarter. God. And the young dudes are just like Corey Joseph steal, Moses Moody steal, Moses Moody offensive rebound, Trace Jackson Davis, and it was like all of a sudden the league got cut to 9, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? And then like gets down to the end of the fourth quarter. Frank Vogel subs out Devin Booker and KD, and then we get a steal or just before he subbed out KD piffed the ball against the stanchion because he made a defensive mishap, but that's a tech.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it wasn't a bad tech. It's like if there's a chance where the ball could hit a fan, that's a tech. And he's like, oh. And then like he went back and he's like, fuck, I'm sorry guys. So we got a tech, cut it to 6, steal the inbound, cut it to 4, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? But because of the delayed internet, there's a minute to go, and I get the Bleacher Report notification that tells me that we lost. But I was just thinking for a moment there, because I was having the cheese and rice crackers, and I thought, hey, I'm doing a podcast tonight. I'll get a Coke Zero as well as a bottle of water. So I'm having my Coke Zero in the thin little can. It's fizzing up like crazy in my mouth. Eating the cheese and crackers, disgusting combo. And then we hit a bit of turbulence, and it's like sit down immediately, right? Like get in, and blah, 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 like massive turbulence, like. The hostess as well, like they had to kneel, right? Like that's so they didn't lose the car. Like that's the level of turbulence, right? And I'm like, if I die right now, the last thing I would have seen would have been like a pistol action between Guy Santos and Corey Joseph, while some cheese and Coke in my throat just jumps up and down. I'm not ready.
4 championships, and this is how it ends.
That's how it ends.
Not with a bang, but a whimper. But you know, to go back to that, maybe Steve Kerr is firing off these young blokes if that's how he's got them playing. Yeah. No, I'm being obtuse. Like it's all much of a muchness, as I would say.
All right, but moving on, Chris Paul ejected. Because I really don't want to talk about Guy Santos. Chris Paul ejected, fighting with Scott Foster. The fight was like, they're talking back and forth. Chris Paul starts walking away, says something, bang, tech, and then Chris Paul's like needs to be held back. And it's like, I really wish I'd love to see someone hit Scott Foster.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, man, like Dante's had to live this for a couple of years. Like it actually does suck. That's refs against whatever. But yeah, whatever. Chris Paul record is like 0-15 or something fucked up against, and then it's always been a bit like, why does he hate him? And then in the press conference today, Chris Paul said, between me and Scott, it's personal. They talk. They're like, personal about what? He goes, he said something about my son in the past, and then the journalist was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, just some things that I won't get into. And they're like, I don't know what it is. And he's like, yeah, no, you don't know what it is. And then they're like, can you tell us more? He's like, yeah, we had a sit down with Doc Rivers, myself, Scott Foster, and some dude who I don't recognise, maybe isn't an owner or something, or the head of refs. And then going on about that. And then, so when he was with the Clippers, they had to sit down with Scott Foster. But then there was this other name that everyone in the Twitter mentions was like talking about this one dude. I think he used to be the head of refs. And then one time someone saw Scott Foster's phone and he had 114 missed calls from this dude. Did you read the comments from that?
No.
It was like...
I didn't see this whole thing.
I think it was this ref that got done for match fixing.
Oh, yeah. Was calling
Scott Foster.
I have seen this. I have seen this. Crazy that this has taken this long to come out, if it is true, because that means what they were having a sit down like 6 seasons ago at the very least. Chris Paul's been on four other teams since then.
OKC Warriors, Suns
and
Rockets
and the Rockets. Like he's had he's had the whole twilight of his career still being pursued by Scott Foster as well. So that's pretty nuts. I assume that there is like still just so much shady shit going on with NBA refs. Like that. What's his face? The guy who took all the heat in the mid 2000s.
That guy who they were talking about.
I assumed he was like, okay, cool. Well, the sacrificial lamb
Yeah.
for the press and for the fans and
for the
everything
match
like
fixing.
that, and then we'll just like tone it down a little bit. Not saying that Scott Foster's like some degenerate gambler or like mafioso or anything like that, but fuck, if you just also, if it's something like this that is so talked about all the time, surely you have to just fairly officiate him, okay, on occasion. On occasion, you go like, no, I don't have any bias against him. Look, like he picked up one foul and they won by 5 points in this game. Like the free throw ratio was in their favour, but it's just like every single time.
This was the most free throws shot against the Warriors in 8 years.
That's insane. That's insane.
Make it less obvious.
Yeah, I mean, you also have Chris Paul on your team. Contribute to that, but it's exactly right.
Yeah, it's it's very weird. The fact that he mentioned his son, I don't know, because his son's like a teenager, right? And it's not like he's like does anything. He's a teenager. Like, had he been rude? Had Scott Foster been rude to CP's son or something?
Yeah, but then what? Like 8 years ago when he was, 9-10 years old or something like that.
Like, what would you have to say to a 10-year-old to make the dad still dislike you this far on? Email us at deep2podcast@gmail.com. Your list of slurs.
Don't censor yourself at all. And then also for like the guy who said it to hate you so much back that he makes you lose every single basketball game that he officiates you in.
And it's obvious.
Yeah. I actually think they should just not schedule Scott Foster on Chris Paul games.
I remember some Suns fan on Twitter talking about that last year, because it was like against Denver, they were down 3-1 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we've lost.
Yeah. And they did.
You should just keep them apart. It can't be hard. There's a lot of refs.
Yeah.
There's at least 5.
Tony Brothers, the other one.
Yeah. Lauren Hill. And then other news that happened just like minutes before, the Josh Giddey stuff. So like, it's the evidence is weird, because the evidence is an Instagram page called os.beers_, which is an account that their bio is exposing Josh Giddey. Or I exposed Josh Giddey. It's got 2 posts. One of them is videos of Josh Giddey talking to this girl's brother, saying that they've alluding to the fact that they've just slept together, and then people saying, "Oh, this chick's underage," and like the profile pictures. There's also another account called Josh OS Beers apology page. Like, it's weird. I don't know how Instagram works, how they just nick pages.
It's like those. It's like the pages that you make in high school, like the like Northcote High School rumors and secrets. The starter pack ones. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. But yeah, so this girl is a junior in high school, which would make her at the oldest 17, at the youngest 16. So against the law. And it is just like very clearly like videos and audio of him being like, yeah, this is my girl. And then like alluding to having sex with her and things like that. Are we surprised that a product of St. Kevin's College is...
I feel like we've been on this since you got drafted, actually. So a bit like the Zach LaVine to Toronto news that you heard it here first. I will admit I was on Josh Giddey's side during the World Cup for the first time, and I think I said for the first time I've been rooting for him. But no, we're not surprised at all. Skev's kid with millions of dollars. Just what the fuck though? Like, and I wonder what's going to happen.
It's just one of those things when you have so much like infinite amounts of fame and money, and you like just decide to do something so clearly wrong and stupid. Like obviously victimizing someone, but also just so terrible for your career as well. And it's like it screams St. Kevin's actually. He's got the accent. Him and Jacob Elordi speak in the exact same way in interviews. Like they were taught elocution in the same classroom. It's bizarre.
Jacob Elordi hasn't done anything, because I'm gonna go see his movie next week.
He just like way too convincingly plays a boyfriend. And then I think in this movie as well, way too convincingly.
Are you gonna see it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, Jacob Elordi, Barry Keegan, queer baiting, like. It's It's right up my alley.
I don't know who Barry Keoghan is.
He's the like really ugly but compelling little Irish guy who was in Banshee. Did you see Banshees of Inisherin?
No, I'm still hoping to watch that.
I feel like he was in. Hold on, I'm just gonna.
Oh, the little guy in it. I think I've seen a meme. Or
Yeah,
like a clip of it. Yeah.
This fella here. I'm just rotating my computer's screen. Yeah, he's like one of those guys who's like, oh, you're objectively ugly, but you're also so compelling. There's actually no one.
He's going to grow up and be Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. He was the creepy kid in Killing of a Sacred Deer. He was one of the Eternals in Marvel's The Eternals. And then I think who was he in Batman?
Oh,
yeah.
Which the
Batman?
He wasn't the Penguin.
No, he certainly wasn't Underworld. He was
What, Bodyguard 2?
Oh, you know what he was? He was the
one of the cats.
He was the Joker teaser at the end. He's unseen Arkham Asylum for start.
Yeah. I thought that was Thanos actually at first because of the purple. But you're right, yeah. That was Joker.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey. We'll wait and see how.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated as developments come through.
Yeah, we'll gleefully keep you updated. We probably should have said this at the start. Subscribe to the newsletter. We're banging that drum. But Dante and his beautiful brother Louis are running a marathon on Saturday to raise money for Lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
It says here maybe we'll pop a link somewhere. I think we will pop a link in the description of this
me having
episode.
a discussion with you in the run sheet that didn't get answered.
What's this one say? Sean, how was Bruzy, mate? We'll throw a link there. I was just actually on the link previously. I think they're like just over $2,000 for a $2,500 goal.
Yeah, they're very close to their goal.
So fucking.
I realised I haven't donated either, so they'll be even closer once this podcast's over. But yeah, very crazy. Like obviously, we know Dante to be an incredibly fit guy, but running a marathon is like it's like okay, cool. You're just so much more athletic and accomplished than I can ever really hope to be. I can't even dream of doing a half marathon, to be honest. And you know what? I think that could be my peak. As someone who doesn't run at all, I think I could do a half marathon.
If you work like a year and shit.
Yeah.
Well, funny you mention that. I want to do a half marathon next November.
Fuck yeah, there
I've
you go.
Never done one.
Next November, there you go. That's a good.
Or is it October? Whatever the Melbourne one is. Because apparently it's a G up when you get into the G.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, enough about me. Donate to Lifeline. They're good at running.
Yeah,
they do it on the reg. They're so fast. You know how fucking fast they are?
I imagine very fast. I've chased the footy against Dante before.
True. Yeah. More like watch the footy get chased by Dante.
Let me tell you.
Freaking.
It's like when they let one of those rabbits out of the gates at the beginning of the greyhound races. You know, the fake little rabbits.
Yeah. No, I only watch trackside. So. They're not going to toot their own trumpets, and it's not about being fast, but they're very fast.
Yeah.
All right. Well. I mean, I had a joke here about catering, but like if you work for a catering company, don't give me a wrap with tasty cheese. Don't give me a wrap with tasty cheese, like I guess roast beef, beetroot, pickles, and relish.
Really? That sounds delicious to me.
Seriously?
Yeah.
A cold wrap, tasty cheese, beef, just generic relish of the purple variety. No, maybe orange. And pickles.
And beetroot.
Oh you would gulp that down.
That sounds like a pickly bloody dream,
Maybe in a bit of bread.
Yeah.
Right? Can we start
it's
with
in
the bread?
a wrap.
It's in a wrap.
I see what you're saying.
But also maybe melt the cheese. Maybe don't add that cheese.
Right. So the catering at the
event. Yeah.
The event was subpar, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, but then on the second day they just brought out these big fuck off cookies that were incredible. And I went into a seminar with 3 of them on my plate, and this dude looks at me like I guess that is a visual medium that I'm trying to express that in. Anyway, enough about that.
I'm very partial to a catering company sandwich. Like, I hate to say it, but like the spreads you get at the wake of a funeral. I don't know. Just
you could have said birthday.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. fine. But you can just cram them in. There's just so many of them, and they're very little and bite-sized, inoffensive. I would say
you should have come to my 18th birthday, which we did.
You had it fully catered.
Yeah, well, Mum used to go to this cafe in Glenroy called West Street Cafe,
right?
In the Glenroy strips.
Don't know.
Glenroy?
Glenroy's still up and coming, just after Gladstone Park Shopping Centre.
Yeah, really nice cafe. And then the lady who, at least used to own it, she also did catering business on the side. And then, Mum used to always just walk there and have a chat to her and stuff. And I was like, my son's birthday. I was thinking of making food, but it's going to be so big. And then she's like, I do catering. But to be fair, Mum didn't know she did catering.
Right.
But, she did catering. And then she's like, what sort of food does your son like? And she's like, Mexican, I guess. I think whatever the conversation went like, I got Mexican food, which was but it was just fucking crisp, spicy, perfect.
Nice.
Fuck, oh man, best. I know I'm a bit biased, but best catering food I've ever had at a birthday and or wake.
Yeah, right. Better than the Conte's engagement spread, the Contimento. Sorry.
Yeah. God, we'll see. Because I'm not an oyster boy.
Right.
I'm not looking at the value there. That was also very good.
Yeah.
But just imagine if it's all Mexican.
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
So you got a theme. And it's like slow cooked brisket.
Yeah,
she was doing brisket.
Yeah. Fuck,
but also the Contimento was very good.
That's really impressive. I never got that. I never had a birthday that was catered to. That'd be great.
Mum's very lovely.
I think the most we got was you get mini A1 bakery pizzas. That was the staple around my neck of the woods.
That's also exceptional. Where'd you grow up?
Coburg.
Yeah, right.
Just down the road from Glenroy. Same council area.
Pascabel too, yeah?
Oh, I'm gritting my teeth. Do you want
to take a break before we talk about the New Orleans Pelicans?
Yeah, let's make ourselves some Negronis and then get into it.
This episode of The Deep 2 is presented by Gelateria Bico, the official gelato of The Deep 2. Gelateria Bico, handmade gelato in the heart of Brunswick.
You want to talk WNBA? Maybe some WNBL? Australian Opals chat? Heck, even dabble in some EuroLeague? Find the W Basketball Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
Hey. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, yeah.
You ever had a Negroni Spagliato? I know it was a meme for a while there.
I actually haven't.
So what you do is you've got this.
I do understand the concept of it, Sean.
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's really nice. Oh, Negroni is my favorite drink, and I feel like there's a lot you can do with it. It's a nice base, Like you can put in other liquors and things like that.
Yeah. Actually, I know we're trying not to waffle. We want to talk about the Pels, but I was at this bar in Sydney 2 Septembers ago, and I had a breakfast Negroni, right?
Oh, wow.
So for starters, they bring it out in a coffee mug, and I was like, oh, that's cute. It's like a little breakfast thing. And they strain the gin. No, it's the gin or the vermouth or the Campari, one of the ingredients. They put it in a sealed bag with a slice of banana bread and sous vide it for 24 hours.
What?
So then the...
Banana bread?
Yeah. So it's... Yeah. You're giving me such good reactions. Maybe it's the whole thing. I think they just might make it, and then they sous vide it for 24 hours, and then strain it, and then just give it to you, and it's like banana bread tasting, like breakfast, like a breakfast Negroni, and they put like a coffee thing on top.
Far out.
And you drink it out of a mug.
And they say we're douchey in Melbourne, right? God, there's bloody Sydney side.
For the short price of $26, you can have one yourself.
So the New Orleans Pelicans, right?
Yeah.
Should I set the scene for you?
Yeah,
Sean.
Yeah.
So after our victory against the Kings today, we're 8-7. We're 9th in the West. We're actually top of in-season tournament West Group B, which puts us in a qualifying position.
They call that the danger group
for the quarterfinals. But it's been a very up and down season for the Pels so far. We had a 5-game losing streak where we looked absolutely terrible. We've won 4 out of the last 5, and our one loss in that period was a 1-point loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. We overall, we're 20th in offensive rating and 15th in defensive rating, which is like pretty fucking bad. Like, you're not doing well at anything. But over the last 5 games, we're 7th in offense and 5th in defense. Already this early in the season, CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, and Najee Marshall have all missed like multiple games with injury. Trey Murphy still hasn't played a minute for us. Those are all, you know, players who were playing heavy minutes in our rotation last year. And, you know, I mean, Najee Marshall might be the least important of those 6, but like he was still like an 18-minute, you know. He was good. Exactly right. You know, Matt Ryan, one of our new recruits, is missing 2 weeks with a calf injury. The only players that can keep healthy seem to be Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, which is funnily enough. They've just only missed games through rest and soreness. So, I mean, yeah, what's your early impression of the Pelicans this year, Sean?
Like, I'm not a big fan of the Bingers and Zion combo, but it was always like they're just great offensive players that just make it work and they just force it, right? But Zion hasn't been great, and like Zion, he's at least stayed on the court, but he hasn't been that all NBA level player when he's on the court, and it's like. It's a little bit like, okay, we're like 5 years into it now, and he used to be the most explosive athlete ever. And I can't remember the name of the athletic writer who writes for the Pels. Will Gilroy.
Yeah, Will Gilroy. Yeah.
He at the start of the season did like a preview pod on Dunked on Prime, and then he just said, look, for Zion, we're not going to see the dude in a Duke jersey. Like, we're never going to see that person again. I was like, oh my God, that's miserable. Like, but you're right. Like, he's now just got to like find his shots elsewhere. Like, he's still a big dude. He can still bully you. He can still get to the rim. But he's averaging like what? Well, here we are, 22.2 points per game, 54% from the field.
Which is like abysmal for him, which you know is crazy in and of itself. But like, it's really, really bad for him, that field goal percentage. And yeah, like he's always taken a few weeks to sort of warm into the season, whether that's, you know, from opening night or coming in mid-season off injury in the very, very few seasons of NBA basketball he's played. But usually by this stage, like, he's had that breakout, either that breakout game or that breakout stretch where it's like, oh fuck, like he's had 25 points on 10 of 16 shooting like 4 nights in a row or something like that. And he just hasn't, like, and you know, whether that is that he has just lost that little step of athleticism, he's just started taking some really poor, heavily contested shots as well. Like, you know, the classic Zion shot is right at the rim with 3 defenders on you, and it's a fantastic soft touch or like a acrobatic finish or something like that. Now he's just taking like a lot in that like 3 to 10 feet range, like where he can't quite, you know, either beat his man or take his man all the way to the basket, and he just sort of like chucks up like a little sort of like underhand thing or like a push shot or a float or something, and he's not looking good on those at all. He's shooting 38.5% on those, which is just abysmal.
And I will say it's a hard shot.
Yeah,
like only like the Steph Currys are good in that range.
Exactly, but it's the shot that he's choosing to take as well. Like he's not looking for a better shot. He's not passing out of those situations when he's like, oh fuck, like I can't take this like average power forward like further than six feet out. Maybe I should pass it out to Brandon Ingram and see if he can create something like that. And I think like my favorite thing about his stretch last year is when he was like, you know, 27 points a game, 63% from the field, like just getting the ball on every possession down the end of tight games. He was still making such good decisions with the rock. Like he was like, I know exactly when to pass. I know exactly when I like need to get out of this situation. And he's had none of that this year. Like he hasn't. His playmaking hasn't looked anywhere near its best. And he has just looked like, you know, there has been a little bit of that sort of selfishness that you'd kind of expect from those like ball dominant offensive players that like hasn't really been a concern earlier in his career.
It's like I was watching a bit of his game today, and like because you're just out of CJ McCollum, like Jose Alvarado's not a very on ball guy. Like you're giving him the ball, he's dribbling the ball down, and it's like, you're using him to find Brandon Ingram with a mismatch. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but like, can you do something else?
Yeah.
And I would also love to see what it would look like if he wasn't playing with JV. Because as he is getting less athletic, he might have to settle for those 3 to 10 feet shots.
Yeah.
But what if he's with a stretch 5, like an actual stretch 5?
Yeah. We've had some good minutes of him playing the 5 this season. Like I wrote about it pre-season. I was skeptical about it, but they've been so limited. I think I put it down here. Yeah, he spent 14% of his minutes playing at the 5, which is like more than he's ever done in his career. But it's also like not enough, and not like enough to really act how repeatable it is. I think it was. I'm trying to remember which game it was. It might have even been against Denver, but there was just this stretch where it was like Zion, Ingram, and 3 shooters, and it's like, this is the ideal Pelicans basketball team on offense at the very least. It looked really good. Like everyone was just like running around. Zion was setting screens, rolling to the basket, and just like getting heaps and heaps of space for everyone. But like, the majority of the time it is like Jonas Valanciunas clogging the paint, or even like Larry Nance Jr. clogging the paint, and there's just no other option for a 5 next to him. Yeah,
and you've obviously gone with shooting options just because you need shooting. Yeah. So you've obviously got Matt Ryan in there, who just like got picked up a day before the season started, and then he played a big part.
Yeah.
You drafted Jordan Hawkins, and it was really funny when we were watching basketball at my place.
Yeah.
And Alessio was just like, who's this guy? And you're like, oh, it's just this rookie we just drafted, 27th or whatever. And he's like, are you serious? Like, you're supposed to be taking the step up to the fucking top 4. Like, you're starting a fucking rookie, and you're like, you can shoot, and you're right, like, you can shoot, and like, he's getting it up there. But it's like, it'll look so much better when it's like Trey Murphy who's taking the shots, because he's like a massive body who can defend. And CJ McCollum, wasn't a fan of the move, but like at least he can like do something else with the ball other than just shoot. And then it'll be nice to have those shooting guys off the bench when it's like Larry Nance is your 5, and just like if there's a creator on the second unit surrounded by those shooters, it'll be sick. Where do you want to take it? Because I want to talk about the future of Brandon Ingram and Zion, but I think we should save that for the end. So what do you want to talk about?
Let's stay on Jordan Hawkins for a second, because it is like he's a super, super talented player, but like you can't be taking like 7.5 threes a game as the rookie on a team that has like serious, should have serious like deep play. I want to have a deep playoff run. Obviously, he's been like forced into more minutes and more shots through these injuries. Like he started 8 games, which is just crazy for a guy you drafted. I think it was 14th. I don't think it was. I don't think it was quite that deep in the draft. But it's kind of like one of the best and worst things about the way Willie Green coaches rookies, which is like, okay, this is like the player you were in college, right? Like Dyson Daniels, like before you came into the NBA, like, oh, you're a ball handler, you're a point guard, like you're initiating the play, you're a good defender, blah, 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 blah. So when you're on the court, like, I want you to do that. I don't want you to just like be like, reduced to a role, because that's sort of happened with, like when Trey Murphy first started playing, like he didn't have a lot of license to like take as many threes as he wanted, and it took him like 50, 60 games to find his rhythm. Now he's like genuinely one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. And so I think like Willie Green's going like, Hawkins, every time you catch that ball, like I want you to put it up. Which is great for player development, but it's just not good if you want to win games.
Like you've written down his numbers here. 35.4% from 3, which is like a good above league average, but then 37% from the floor. Because it's just like if he's not doing that, he's not very good at basketball. But it's good and bad. Like it's good and bad, because like, hate to bring it back to Jonathan Kuminga, but when he first came into the league, Steve Kerr was like, I need you to stand in the dunker spot, I need you to guard the best player because you're long and you're athletic, right? And he's like, okay, but what if I stand in the dunker spot and then turn my back and then shoot a fadeaway jump shot? And it's like, no, you're back on the bench, man. Now he's doing it a bit. Like now he is the guy. He's the point of attack defender. Even when Draymond's out there, Kuminga is still the point of attack defender. But it's like, we also couldn't afford to do it because like we still had expectations. We obviously won a title that year. So I think it is good that you're saying this is what you want to do, do it. I think like. Yeah, I think it is good at the end of the day because you're 500.
Yeah,
you're missing so many dudes. Like you're going to be better when CJ and when Trey Murphy come back. And for a dude like Jordan Hawkins to come in and have the confidence that he's made all those shots, he's going to keep coming in, he's going to keep making those shots because 35 is like a fine 3-point percentage given how many he's taken. So I think like, yeah, it's good and bad, but I think it's more overwhelmingly good that you've got this dude who has confidence to make those shots.
100%. And like, he's made 43s over his first 15 games in the NBA, which is just, it's a it
is a record?
It's a record. Like every game he plays, it's like, most threes scored by a rookie over their first 16 games in the NBA. Most threes scored by a rookie over their first...
Me and my homies.
Yeah.
You know who holds the record for the most threes as a rookie?
No, who is it? Is it Steph?
No. It's Steph's like fucking 5th or some shit.
Yeah, right.
It's Keegan Murray.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Said it.
Yeah.
Just 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, last year.
Oh yeah, it was last year.
Yeah,
Shit. All right. Well, Keegan, watch out. The Hawks coming for your crown.
Oh god, he called him the Hawk. Herb Jones. How's Herb Jones been going?
So Herb had a bit of a slow start, but like he is just so clearly, I think, our most consistent and most important player now. Like he is shouldering such a heavy load on defense. You know, like we've had above league average defense the last 2 seasons, despite him being like literally the only good defender in our starting 5. Like he's playing next to Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, who like just don't care about defense. CJ McCollum, who like even if he did, he's just not like
too small to have an impact.
He's way too small. And Jonas Valanciunas, who like doesn't know how to jump, you know, when he's in the paint. And this season, like, he's shouldering even more. And then he's also being asked to, like, you know, he's kind of almost doing that Jeremy Sohan thing where it's like, all right, like, we're not asking you to rack up 7 assists a game, but you're bringing the ball up, like, every way down the stretch and getting everyone into their action.
Yeah, because if he's got the ball and then guys are running off the ball, then it's like he's not too much of a like suck. On the spacing.
Exactly right. And like it's effective, but it's just like it's so much to do when you're also being asked to like either guard the best player, you know, on the other team, and then also like, I mean, you know, you watch Herb Jones' highlights and he's guarding like 4 guys over the space of 5 seconds or something like that. Like he's one of those, you know, he's one of those guys. And I think the best thing for his defense has been playing next to Dyson Daniels, which means Dyson can like guard the best perimeter player on the other team, you know, like he did a really good job in our first game against the Kings on De'Aaron Fox. And then Herb Jones is like kind of like a Giannis-esque, but like a perimeter version, you know, roaming safety where he's like, he's obviously not doing help side rim protection in the traditional sense because he's, you know, 6'6", and not super strong, but like he's just getting in passing lanes, contesting people on the 3-point line. Like he's already blocked so many threes, deterred so many people from taking threes. I think opponents are 3.6 less likely to shoot corner threes when he's on the floor, which is like 97th percentile. Like he's just incredible at stopping people from taking threes. And I think when he has to play next to CJ, it's like not only is he guarding the best perimeter player on the other team, which could be anyone from Steph Curry to Kawhi Leonard, like in terms of, you know, size. But then he's also doing all of that, like getting in the lanes, you know, like compensating for Zion when he doesn't make the switch, like all of that stuff. So having like one actually good defender on the floor with him, like just elevates him to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and like everything you're saying, it's just why I fucking hate the JV move more and more. It's like, okay, maybe CJ's your point guard, but then eventually it's going to be Dyson Daniels, or eventually it's going to be like the next person you can trade for. But having like Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson who don't care / aren't good on defense, but then surrounding him with Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones, pretty like Trey Murphy, pretty fucking cool. If only there was like a great center there just to complement it. Like it'd be so good.
Yeah, and not even a great center, just someone who's like as good as on defense as JV is on offense, which
Well,
is pretty good.
I know you had him as Stephen Adams.
Yeah.
And
Something just didn't work there. Obviously, I'm still I would still take Miles Turner.
Well,
if the trade was there,
someone on Twitter described the Pacers as a pyramid scheme to get all the dudes paid on the Indiana Pacers just by not caring about defense, scoring 150 points a game. I would still trade you Miles Turner if I was in charge of them. But then, I mean, they're gunning for the fucking in-season tournament, so they're contenders, but it's for the wrong cup. So it doesn't look like he's going to move.
We're both in those quarterfinal spots at the moment.
The commentators for the Pacers, I think it was against Atlanta, were just I was listening to the away broadcast, and they're and here's our first look of the season at Miles Turner. Miles Turner has been rumoured to be everywhere else but Indiana, but yet 8 seasons in, here he stands. And it's I kind of wish he wasn't there anymore. They're gonna, whoever the centre is next to Hallie, they're gonna score their 14 points a game, right?
Yeah.
And it would be really nice. But then I guess my question is a question that's been asked for 5 years now, but what's the future of Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson? How do you feel at the moment?
I think I'm obviously you have a lot of personal attachment to players like that. When you've seen Brandon Ingram, kind of single-handedly win 2 playoff games when you've never seen your team in the playoffs before, and you've seen Zion Williamson just be the best player in the world for the month of January. You don't want to trade either of them. I would happily trade either of them at this point.
Really?
I think that we can get something to work here, but I think it was also there's a much easier path if you just have one of those kind of, because there's just nothing complimentary about their games. Their games on offense don't complement each other at all. I mean, obviously this is a different echelon, but we've been talking to High Hell about the sort of natural fit between Dame and Giannis, right? They occupy completely different areas of the court. When one of them has the ball, the presence of the other one makes it easier for them by the skills that they have. And then also Giannis's good defense makes up for Dame's complete lack of defense. Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, neither of them have any defensive acumen or skills. It's not like Ingram's getting an open look in the mid-range because Zion's charging into the paint, and it's not like Zion's getting an open lane into the paint because Ingram's cooking in the mid-range. Their games just don't complement each other at all. That being said, it's you're not trading either of them except unless you're getting a complimentary star back, and it's who's sort of in the same boat as you, so who has a star that isn't fitting and wants one of those two guys, and I think they've definitely both got value.
I just I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze for either of those two guys, because let's say you trade Zion to the Knicks, right, and you get back Pishikaka, all of a sudden you've got more picks and you can make a bigger move, but then it's okay, your best player is Brandon Ingram, and you might have the best 3-and-D players alongside him, but how far can a team with Brandon Ingram take you? But then if you trade Brandon Ingram and get a more complimentary guy with all shooters around Zion Williamson, then it's okay, well, what if he gets injured? All of a sudden you're just the Memphis Grizzlies right now. He's got a great defense, but it's for what? And then if Zion Williamson is healthy, then we're a bit he's not who he was. How far does that take you? And one thing that sort of shocked me a bit is that I was reading an article about Cade Cunningham on the Ringer the other day, and they were just he was ranked 6th in ESPN's 25 under 25, and I was I haven't read that article yet. Click on it. And Zion Williamson is ranked 8th. Or 7th, right? And it's oh my God, how far his star has fallen. And it's he was ahead of Darius Garland and some other dudes like that. And it's I don't know, should he be? Because he proves it for 25 games a year. But right now, it's a bit this article came out before the season started, but it was far out. Are his best days behind him? And that's such a bummer.
100%. There is just also, the possibility that in 10 games he'll just start proving everyone wrong, because he has done that before, where he just hits another gear, or he figures something else out with the team. But like we are now at the stage where like him and Ingram have played enough basketball together that like they should know how to be able to get 25 points each a night. And like it becomes clearer and clearer every day that when you look at the last like 3 years of Pelicans basketball, Brandon Ingram has played all of his best basketball without Zion Williamson, and Zion Williamson has played all of his best basketball without Brandon Ingram. Like we were top of the West with BI out for 2 months. Like you know, we had that incredible run after the CJ trade when Zion, you know, was out for the entire season, led by Brandon Ingram. We had a great run that, you know, got us into a useless playing spot at the end of last season when Zion was out and Ingram was healthy. So it's even less like, you know, how do you make it work? And more like, well, if it just works so much better with one of them, then like maybe that's it. Like,
but yeah, it's just a bit grim.
It's
like you trade the guy who has only been better.
Yeah.
And might have more trade value, but then you've got concerns about the injured guy. And then do you trade the injured guy, but he was going to be the next LeBron?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's you know, David Griffin, kind of evergreen, like 6 out of 10. You know, like,
I mean, his draft's been great. Like Jose, Dyson's look good.
Trade, Herb,
that's exceptional, but. Just the CJ and JV.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, what would you do to make this team better if it wasn't moving on from Zion or Brandon Ingram? What's the short term blueprint? Let's say.
I get that we're sitting here going, oh, we don't know if BI and Zion can fit together, but I think like we've both come to the conclusion that whatever trade you make, it's not going to be good. Like if it is the Knicks package, it's like, okay, you've got RJ, who's not a complementary piece to Brandon Ingram. I would just fix the 1 and the 5. But you've traded for a guy in CJ who's just going to be getting worse and worse and worse with every year because he's like 33 or something. And JV is just like, it seems untradeable. Like he got moved with a pick. You know, the picks were getting worse to get off Steven Adams.
Mate, they wanted Zion Williams.
It's just a bit like, I guess you start throwing in those Lakers picks a bit, if you throw all the Lakers picks in and like Trey Murphy and like something else, right? Like, what's the best player you can get? Like the Bradley Beal of old. Can you get Zach LaVine? That doesn't do it.
I think you get Zach LaVine.
Oh, you definitely could, but I don't think
doesn't improve you.
Yeah, it doesn't improve you. Like, can you get Cat? No, they're winning too many games. Can you get Pascal Siakam? Well, there's another 3-4 that you don't want. I mean, shooting good defending 5s are hard to find. That's why there's only 2 of them, maybe 3, right? I don't know what the short-term fix is. I'm definitely going to go home and play 2K and just like shuffle through the fucking trade options.
It is one of those funny things where it's like the narrative about Zion, his entire career has been like, oh, you got to put a stretch 5 next to this guy. Like, yeah, we absolutely have to. Which is true, but then also like, even last week on the pod, you and Dante were talking about like the spacing issues of like Cat and Rudy, and it's like Cat is the stretch 5. Like he's
playing with a 5.
Yeah. But you see what I mean? It's like there are only like there are so many guys. Like JV is on paper like he's a good 3-point shooter, right?
It's like 1.5.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's all these 5s who are like, you know, can shoot the 3, but how many of them actually like open up the floor for a Zion Williamson?
I don't think it has to be a 5. Like, my theory that I love is that you can only afford to have, out of your 5 players, you can only afford to have 1 bad shooter. Right now, like, for you it is Herb, I guess. Because when he gets hot, you win that game regardless, right? With the Warriors, it's always been Draymond. And it's like, whenever they want to win games, Looney's not sitting down. Now that we're trying to win games, it's like, oh, we sort of have to have Looney because we're not strong enough to beat these big teams. But then Clay stops shooting and it's like, oh, we've got 3 dudes who can't shoot, right? And that's probably Chris Paul, because Chris Paul doesn't want to shoot. Can he share the court with Draymond? Like, I don't think it has to be a 5. It just sucks that you've traded for JV. No, maybe you don't have to play JV. Like, maybe you don't have to play him down to 5. But just make it so that you've got 4 dudes that can shoot, and Brandon Ingram just doesn't like catch and shoot throws.
That
might be the biggest issue.
Do you think Well, because the other issue, the long-standing issue with the Pels is like just actually having the worst rim protection in the league between Zion and JV. I think Larry Nance was our blocks leader last season or something like that with like 0.9 a game. If you traded JV for like just a more traditional defensive five, like an Isaiah Hartenstein or something like that, how would that work in your book?
In my book,
yeah,
you still need to ask BI just to catch and shoot more.
Yeah,
because no matter who you change at the 5, BI doesn't like catch and shooting. And he's just going to have to do that if Zion wants to run into the rim. It's like, maybe there's going to be some Zion and like Hartenstein issues. It's just sort of individual improvement. But that sucks, doesn't it? Because what the fuck do you do? Because you're not going to win a title.
Our the game winner against the Kings today was it was like Ingram got off the inbound, gave it to Zion. Zion took a couple of dribbles, handed it off to Ingram. Then set a screen on Ingram's man. Probably the best screen he's set all the season because absolutely... was it Harrison Barnes? It was Harrison Barnes or Trey Lyles. 40 or 41. And like actually floored them. Like they actually fell over winded. And then Ingram just got to the rim, like all but dunked it. And then you look at the replay and Zion, he's not rolling. He's just like standing at the 3-point line. And it's like, you're a 280-pound power forward. When you set a screen like that, you got to like move towards the basket.
You're not adding any value elsewhere.
It's just, and like it was. I think what I'm maybe trying to get at is the fact that Brandon Ingram won't catch and shoot. Won't shoot off the catch is just as bad as the fact that Zion won't like just be a good roll man. Like neither of them are traditional 3s or 4s. And that's almost what is hampering our team in the long term. Yeah,
like we can wring our hands at David Griffin as much as we want, and like we can be like, oh, why the fuck are you playing Jordan Hawkins and Matt Ryan all these minutes? But it's like, it might just be on the 2 guys just to be better. And that sucks. That's such a bummer.
Yeah, it does. It does suck. Still, I still think. I still think we can be I still think we can be a top 6 seed this year. But you're right, we just can't make any noise in the playoffs.
Because it's like you could think about like the best possible outcome, but are you being Denver or like Phoenix looked bad, but like Phoenix could look better. There's just so many like better teams that are they just know what they are. You sort of need to know
and everyone does their job right. Your 2 main guys can't even do their job.
Like if Zion turns into Aaron Gordon, if that's his absolute ceiling, right? Then that sucks for Brandon Ingram because he's able to get to the mid range. He's able to do what he wants, but Aaron Gordon's going to be there.
Oh well.
Yeah. I think we should wrap up on that miserable note.
Any final thoughts? I wanted to ask you something, but we might have covered it earlier in the pod. Oh no, all it was like, how does it feel to have the Scott Foster experience? But we spoke about it at length.
It does suck. It really does suck because I've never felt that before. But it's like, oh, this guy sucks. But it was a foul. Like he did foul KD.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was the one that got him talking, but.
Well, the sun, obviously. And we'll have more of that next week.
Oh, we got Scott Foster's kid on. No, Chris Paul's kid on.
Scott Foster's kid. The skeleton key, if you will. All right. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, no worries. I'll speak to you next time.
The Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show is your fortnightly dose of the lighter side of basketball, hosted by me, Marco.
And me, Lucas. We take a more laid-back approach, talking about the NBA, the WNBA, FIBA basketball, culture, whatever tickles our fancy or grinds our gears.
The show is filled with great guests, classic gags, and a healthy dose of tangents in honour of the great man himself.
The Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show, fortnightly on the Deep 2 podcast network.
Loves just talking about the league, certain things like that.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.